Hey there, interweb. It's Mick again, the old punk. It is Thursday, August 29th. We got a long weekend here in the US coming up, and I only just realized it was a long weekend a couple of days ago. So I'll do my quote unquote second video as scheduled then, but technically it'll be my third video because I had an interesting therapy session yesterday, and I went to bed feeling in a much better place than I have in a long time. Even to the point where I was watching a crappy TV show and something funny happened, and I found myself literally laughing out loud, which is something I rarely do, certainly not when you're alone. But today, after having a crappy night's sleep, I find myself not quite as upbeat, not quite as positive. And I thought, let's do a little thing on help, asking for help. Why is it that as a trauma survivor, we can find many people saying, hey, if you need help, just ask. All you have to do is ask. And I'm thinking to myself, well, why is it that we don't? Why is it that so many trauma survivors are so fiercely independent? And I think there's also trauma survivors on the other end of the spectrum where they ask for help a lot, but they don't necessarily know what to do with the advice or how to implement it. And I'm not saying either is right. I'm not saying either is wrong. Just my particular personality type, or my trauma response, if you will, is I'm not very good at asking for help. So as I was thinking about this just before I decided to record this, and this isn't scripted, this is just me riffing. And for any of you younger viewers out there, you may have heard of a group called the Beatles. They were pretty big a minute ago, but one of their biggest hits of the '60s was simply called "Help." And I'm just going to read to you one verse. Right? It's when I was younger, so much younger than today, I never needed anybody's help in any way. But now those days are gone. I'm not so self-assured. Now I find I change my mind and I'll open up the doors. And that's kind of an interesting take. A, because it's just a pop song. But you could also make the argument that Lennon and McCartney, who were predominant songwriters for the Beatles, were poets. But poets are not just people that can string words together that are entertaining or amusing. They tend to be narrators of life, whether they realize it or not. And for me, as I get older, I find that I'm more willing than I've ever been to ask for help. But I don't know how. And more frustratingly, when. And what I mean by when is appropriate to ask for help and when is not. Why don't we ask for help? Well, there's the fiercely independent thing I mentioned, but there's also the insecurity, right? If I ask for help, I'm going to appear weak. I'm going to appear fallible. What if they say no? What if I come across as being needy? Oh, you know, it's just easier not to ask for help. But there comes a point where everybody needs help. And it's so damn infuriating for me that I can't ask for help. But if you need help, I'm there for you. I will bend over backwards, as they say. And I mentioned this to my therapist the other day, and that's essentially putting other people ahead of yourself, right? That's exactly what that is. You value yourself less than you value others, or rather, you value everything else other than yourself, which comes down to a number of things. You can mash it in, right, to a number of things, right? It could be self-worth, it could be shame, it could just be, actually, you know what, no, when it all boils down to it boils down to shame. It's a variation of shame, right? I'm ashamed to ask for help because I might come across as weak, I might come across as stupid, I might come across as needy. But as I'm getting older, what I'm realizing is if I don't ask for help, nobody knows I need help. And as much as I would like for my friends to be able to read my mind, I'm like, oh my God, Mick needs some help right now. Mick's struggling right now. I haven't heard from Mick in a while. What's going on with Mick? Most people don't do that in this day and age. Most people, and it's not necessarily because they're bad friends or they're, fair weather friends. And there's plenty of them out there. A lot of it is they're busy with their own lives. There's an expression. I don't remember who said it or exactly how it goes, but it's something to the effect of, you wouldn't worry so much about what people thought about you if you realize how little they think about you. And that's true, because we're all wrapped up in our own bubbles, our own silos, if you will. And, people have got financial obligations, family obligations, and sometimes friendships take a back seat. And this can be true for family as well. So, my question to you, and it's also, sort of asking myself this. When was the last time you consciously asked somebody for help on something, i.e. sort of a mental health issue, where you just felt so uncomfortable as to feel anxiety or your body change in some way, your chest tightens, your breathing tightens, you start sweating, whatever it is. And think about that for a second. Just sit on that for a moment, and then think to yourself, or follow up with a question of, why did I ask for help at that point? What was different from all the other times that I didn't ask for help? Was it something negative that went on? Maybe you didn't sleep good. Maybe you had an argument with your spouse, or your boss, was putting extra stress on you. Maybe something positive. Maybe you were able to take a break. Maybe you were able to take a vacation, or maybe your loved one surprised you or something. Hey, buddy. Yeah, I always keep these videos where my dogs just come in to say hi. You go lay down, big boy. Go lay down. So, what was it that was different from the time before? Why did you ask for help this time? Or, with that same kind of lens, why didn't you ask for help this time if you've been able to before? So I have a challenge for you. It's a challenge for me, but I'm going to throw it out there as a challenge for you also. And I would love to hear from anybody. You can put it in the comments. What is one thing, and you don't have to go into huge detail, and I may follow this up with a video on this topic specifically. What is one thing that you know on a deep, visceral level that you need some kind of help, some kind of support, mental, emotional support, that you refuse to not just ask for help, but perhaps even acknowledge to yourself that you want or need help in that area. So I'm asking myself, and in turn asking you, what's the one thing that you can be vulnerable to yourself? Don't have to tell anybody what it's about, just something you to think about, and if you're brave enough to put it in the comments, great. But what's the one thing that you are allowing yourself to be vulnerable enough about? And ask for help. And if you want to put it in the comments below and get a discussion going, I'm happy to do that, and perhaps I can help in some way. I don't know if I can or if I can't. But I'm going to wrap this up now because I'm trying to keep these under 15 minutes and no idea how long this one's been going for. Let's fast forward mentally 5, 10, 20, 30, 40 years. And you're looking back in your life and you didn't ask for help in this one area. How would that make you feel? And conversely, if you did ask for help in this one area, and you fast forward, to your later stages of your life and you look back, how did that improve your life? There's probably a small chance that it didn't improve your life. It may have, create some stress or some bumps in the road. But overall, I imagine it would be a learning opportunity if nothing else. So overall, I think it would have improved your life on some level, even if it was just developing a little bit more self-love, self-worth to say, hey, I am worthy of being helped. I got me a little choked up right there. I'm worthy of being helped, and even if no one helps me, even if I get the answers that I don't like, even if this creates some bumps in the road, I stood up for myself, which is essentially saying I'm giving myself a little bit more value today than I did yesterday. That's making me smile just saying that. I hope this is useful to you. This is Mick signing off. Till the next time, be good to yourself.